So AgXcel's GX12HP is our newest product in our injection lineup. What the GX12HP allows you to do is inject your anhydrous stabilizers, or if you want to use this for planting, your insecticides and fungicides and herbicides. You could also use, say, Pivot Bio's proven product, which runs at 12.8 ounces per acre. You're able to run that through the GX12HP. Looking at the unit here, we have two different models in there so you can get two different rates. You have a 2-pump version, and then you have another version which looks basically identical, but you only have 1 pump versus 2 pumps, which allows you to get lower rates. The other great part about this unit is that it is PWM controlled. So similar to what our GX2 electric system is, you're able to run this off of your rate controllers, either if that's V-Apply, a Green Star case, Ag Leader Trimble, Raven, whatever it is, you can run this system off of it and get your variable rate control with it. Or even if you were to do any sort of prescription where you want the product on or off at a certain point to match with your carrier system, you're able to do that with this GX12HP. Looking at the electronics on this, like I said, you have your PWM controlled, which is just a 12-volt controller. We recommend you connect it to the battery of your tractor so you can get sufficient power to it. Looking at the next module that's on here, on all these rate controllers, normally it's always connected to a flow meter, such as this magnetic flow meter or some sort of turbine flow meter. Well, for this system, the way we read flow, since most of your rates are always so low, they're lower than what most of your flow meters can read, unless if you're going to spend several thousands of dollars on a flow meter, which would be on top of the price of the system. We instead use an RPM sensor, and then we have a flow sensor that's in line as well to tell you if there's actually fluid moving through the system instead of relying solely on just the RPM of the pump. So with this RPM sensor, because it's a different signal than what a flow meter would give out, we created this module, and what it'll do is it'll convert the pulses, so any rate controller that you're using would be able to read the revolution of the pump. And then also with the flow sensor on here, if flow were to stop going through this system, then on this module, it'll cut off the signal telling the flow meter, hey, I'm not reading anything, I'm not going to send you any pulses. So then you can quickly tell there's some sort of problem at the system and you're not blindly relying on just if the pump is spinning, but yet product isn't actually being put out. That's really about it for most of the electronics. Looking at the inlet of the system back here, we'd go into the 2 pumps, and then we'll just come out of the 2 pumps. We have a pressure gauge here. We also have an electric pressure sensor as well, so you can see monitor in the controller on the cab. On this 2-pump version, we have a dampener here. It helps just get an even more even flow going out into your injection point. As we come out of the dampener, we'll go into the flow sensor that we have, and then out of the flow sensor, we have this kind of small manifold, and so you can plumb your outlet to whatever you want to do. In this case, I only have one. That would be going into my injection point. For this case, I just have a check valve that is in line, and then I am injecting just before my manifold, so then I can get product through all of my red balls and then down to the rows. And this GX12HP, if you were to use it for an anhydrous stabilizer kind of setup, you would be able to use this for like a newer product such as Centuro. Even if you wanted to use it for the NServe product, you could do that as well. All of the seals, the pumps themselves, everything on here is rated for that NServe, since it's very corrosive. Of course, you don't want any damage to the system, so we've done a lot of testing to make sure that it won't hurt the pump system itself. So the way these pumps work is we have a 12-volt motor that's 112 RPM that's mounted inside this body down here. When this motor spins, there's a pulley that's attached to that and the pump, and then the belt is going to move it, which will then move these pumps here. And so the motor is just 12 volt. So what you'll do is you'll put 12 volt power to your PWM from the battery of your tractor. That then connects to the pump, and then your PWM signal line, which is the smaller black and blue plug here, would be coming from your rate controller, and that'll tell the PWM to tell the motor what rate to run at. And when you get the feedback from the RPM sensor, which is just back here, and the flow sensor itself, it'll show up on screen telling you what rate you're running. From there, the controller and the PWM will determine, hey, I need to speed up or I need to slow down to reach my target rate. So comparing the GX12HP to the GX12i, they both do the same thing where they inject your low rate product. With the GX12i though, it's a lot more of a simple system. So as you come out of the 10-gallon tank, you go into the injection system here, you have this adjustable knob. based off of the rate that you're trying to run through this system and then the rate of the carrier product that's going to come through here, you're going to set the dial at a certain ratio and lock it in. Now, that's all great, but where the issue comes into is if you want to variable rate your carrier rate, then you need to adjust this dial. Well, every time you're trying to do that, especially if you're running a set prescription, you don't want to have to get out every time, adjust this, lock it back in place on the correct ratio, and then get back to driving, on every pass of the field. So that's where that GX12HP really shines as well. Any sort of prescription control, or if you just don't want to touch and mess the system, besides rinsing it out, that GX12HP really shines over this GX12i. AgXcel does also offer the GX12HP with a 20-gallon tank, so we'll have one whole setup built for you with the tank. We'll already have all the inlet hosing going into the GX12HP. We even add a small rinse tank on there, so if you want to just fill it with water, then at the end of the day, you can rinse the system out, or you can do the same thing with an RV antifreeze, and then when it's time to winterize the system, you could run it through your main 20-gallon tank, or you could also just switch from your small rinse tank, run it through the GX12HP, get it all cleaned out, and then you're good to go for the end of the year. The only thing that you'll have to do with that system is from the outlet of this GX12HP, run your hose to your injection point, and then you're good to go. AgXcel has spent the last couple years developing this system, so we're glad to finally come to market with this product. If you have any questions or want any information on pricing and availability, call today.